Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on our APPI Learn by Doing webinars. Today, the topic will be precognition retrocausality for health and wealth. And at first, it may not seem like those go together. And when I talk about that, I hope you will see the relationship and indeed maybe do something about your own health and wealth. So the outline for today is, first I will be talking about ARV for newbies and oldbies. You know, it's a refresher for some of you, but we always have some newbies that come either here or listen to this later. And then we'll get into the particular topic, health and wealth. And then we'll be doing feedback sessions for these two coordinates. And then a new prediction for an outcome a month in the future. So that's the plan. So let's begin with, what is ARV all about? Associative Remote Viewing. First, let's just look at it in linear time, even though we know precognition retrocausality is the key to what makes it work. But we start with a remote viewing session. So the prediction begins with a remote viewing session where your task is basically to describe and sketch your feedback target. Simple as that, right? But the feedback target you're not going to see until the future. But understanding the principle is the key part here. And we associate a coordinate with this because we hope that you'll be doing this for the long term. Okay, so this is when you view the target, I'll say more about that you will see, experience during your feedback session, which is out here in the future. Now, the one of the key things which makes all this possible, and which is something that you get deeper and deeper in your deep self, inner self, is that consciousness indeed has access to information from distant places and distant times. And that's the normal ability that you have, which is often stunted, which we use in associative remote viewing. So here's the feedback session later in time, and this is when you're going to see and experience the feedback target. Now, to make this useful, we need the association part, and this is where in between in time, analysis and judging comes in. Now, here is where you make a judgment where you may want to take action, even in regular remote viewing. During the military, now, when you do a remote viewing session, there's going to be analysis involved. Here, the analysis is a little bit different because we are going to be asking yes/no questions. We're doing binary ARV where there are two choices, yes or no. And based on what you get, and you may get a pass, there will be some action which you might want to take. Now, since there are two possible answers that we're looking for, a yes or a no, it makes sense that there would be two possible targets. Now, guess what? One of those targets is associated with yes, one's associated with no, and what's important for you to know, this is like inviolable, is that the actual target shown during the feedback session will always be associated with what actually happens, yes or no. So what that means, since you know you're going to see the target that's yes or no here, the judge, if he sees a really super transcript and that transcript is for yes, then he can take action based on the yes answer to whatever question is being asked. So that's basically ARV really in a nutshell. I'll say a bit more about it, hopefully to clarify it a little more for the newbies. But I first want you to know at precognition, the definition which I like to use, which is knowledge of something in advance of its occurrence through means not accepted by society's paradigm of time. Precognition is just a natural capability of human beings. It occurs in most of us sometime randomly. What we're doing is doing it on purpose. So that's what the ARV tasking is all about. And there's all kinds of evidence by us and many others that precognition is indeed real. This idea of what we're doing is purposeful is a very important part of this. And with the fact that it's done on purpose and with a protocol, really makes plain that precognition really begins with the feedback session, because the feedback session is when you know the truth. And that session is what connects up with the remote viewing session, which is done earlier, as we indicated before. And here the cue is always for us to scribe and sketch your, and then we give a 6-digit coordinate feedback targets. Others might do it with letters. The concept, though, is always the same. So what's key is the feedback target. That's your thing to describe. And the feedback target is a photo site. Now the photo site, and that's with us and what we're doing here, because I can't have you touch an object or anything because we're all over the world. So using the internet, we use photo sites, which are a particular site location at the particular time the photo was taken. So your consciousness moves to that place and time when the photo was taken, and it's your job to describe and or sketch what can be readily verified or inferred from the photo. You know, I don't want you to describe what's out of the field of view unless it's easy to infer it as being there. Because guess what? Your transcript is going to be judged, and all that will be available to the judge will be the photo. However, it's really clear this is a photo site because your consciousness moved to the site, and you can pick up sounds and, you know, from the picture you can get the colors and shapes, but your consciousness can get the sounds, smells, tastes, tactile sensations, emotions, anything that your nervous system normally can pick up in your normal way of sensing this physical world we're in. What's amazing is that through your subconsciousness, that is able to activate this very same nervous system and all aspects of it. So your transcript can have all of these, all of this information, and often it picks up gestalts. The very first thing you might see in a picture, it'll pick up. Like if this were the picture without all the letters, you might pick up water. You might pick up motion. You might pick up color brown. You don't usually get the name of things. You might get 3 though. So those first impression gestalts are important. Now we've talked about analysis judging. The target is the feedback photo site. There are two targets, but one is the one you're actually going to see based on what actually happens in terms of the question that's being asked. So the yes or no will always be here. And the other one is just possible. Sometimes people might refer to the other target that's not actualized as a decoy. And unfortunately, one of the challenges is to not describe the decoy. And we'll say more about that later. Your job, and most people can do this right most of the time, is to describe and sketch your feedback target. The one you see here has nothing to do with the fact that there are two possible ones. So I claim the idea is relatively simple. We don't understand how it works. I'm actually going to give you a model, but it does. And practice, practice, practice is the key. And you can learn and get better and better at this. And so you practice, practice, practice like a doctor or a shaman. And pretty soon your practice just becomes part of your life. I want to show transcripts from one target, just to give you the sense of how different people generate their remote viewing transcript in different fashions for the same target. So this was, of course, a blind target, but it was a similar webinar like this done years ago, but I still really like it as an example. And you can see here's a target, and we put analytical overlays, that's what AOL stands for, when your mind gets involved and when you know it's from your mind and not from your subconscious. When you're doing remote viewing, you want the information to come from deep down, up through your subconscious, into your conscious mind, and that's what you report. But sometimes you get the sense that you've really added, that your intellect has added something. For example, right here, vehicle came in. We got this motion, conserving energy, spiraling, downward, cave. A lot of these words, as you can see, are right on, yet put helicopter here. Also put water here, which turns out to be right. The thing about the AOLs is sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. But you can see an example here where the subconscious was able to pick up motion, spiraling down, got the water. So definitely saw this as a vehicle as opposed to being the person. But nevertheless, you could see the way this person's subconscious mind was passing information, and it did quite well. Here is another person, and here you can see they got the geometry quite well. And I want you to note the parts here. You know, they didn't have a slightest idea what it was. They put what their subconscious gave them and put it down, and that's the key. Whatever your subconscious gives you, put it down on the transcript. Now, here's one where you might not be able to read this, but it says sound of fabric flapping in the wind. So notice different people are picking up different things with their senses. But this makes the point again that your whole nervous system is available for reporting. And this was one with the sound. And then this one I just love, and you, I think, will love, because not only did it get like a drum roll sound, but look at the spikes, all the spikes here. So I like that. And in the AOL, thought it was a porcupine possibly, didn't appreciate that in detail. And in ARV, these sessions, you usually keep them short. You want to get good relevant information, but just enough to distinguish it from the decoy. Okay, now, so one of the key things here is just notice how people are different. You are going to do it in your way. The level of words are low-level words. We don't like to name things. We use the kind of words that you're seeing here. You know, instead of an Eiffel Tower, you'd say things like tall, maybe you get triangular shape, um, metal. You get words like that. Your AOL may be Eiffel Tower, in which case put it as an analytical. So, are there any questions about this until we go on to the topic? Okay, let's go on. So now let's talk about, we're going to talk about how this might all connect up with health and wealth. Health is the one which I really want you to understand. I mean, wealth is sort of natural. If you can do precognition, you can do it reliably. There are a lot of ways you can use it to make money, and ARV is one. But health, which is really much more important than money. If you don't have your health, you don't have very much. You can't focus on other things. So health is really important, and health in both body, mind, and spirit. So Mary Clark wrote this book, In Search of Human Nature, and it's a good book. And she defines worldviews as being so important, which indeed they are. And these are beliefs and assumptions by which an individual makes sense of experiences. I mean, we are living our life in this physical world, and we are living our moment-to-moment experiences. And it's these experiences that give us our worldview. I mean, think about all the experiences you had as a child. That really set up, in many ways, and I think more than many appreciate, your worldview of this life you have of the physical world. You know, when you're young, you're just experiencing them, but you're making assumptions. You know, is it a friendly world? Is it a happy world? Do I get hurt a lot? Do I have to worry about things? Am I in danger a lot? Or in fact, can I really do almost anything I want and get away with it? But, oh, gee, I better not touch that stove because I'll burn my... You're just learning from experiences. You're learning about the physical world. I want to introduce this symbol because this is all personal. I always have to say you. You know, when we're talking to audiences, we say you. But this is all about the I. And this is all about the the psychic part of you. You know, there are a lot of different parts of you. You know, you might be male, you might be female. You have your relationships with your family, you have relationships with work. Well, what we're talking about here is the psychic part of you. And you know, these are indeed all mixed up, but you have one, and we want you to develop that part. Now, in terms of beliefs and assumptions, I would say most of us have this belief that I will live and be healthy for maybe 80 or 90 years if I'm lucky. But notice, that's a belief, and it's based on seeing most other people living about that number of years. Does it have to be that way? I don't know. I frankly think we can live much, much longer than that. Okay, now a lot of what I'm going to be telling you goes way back, millennium or so. The oracles of Delphi use precognition, but the way it connected up with consciousness, at least in the way I would like to introduce it to you, has to do with quantum mechanics in what was called the measurement problem. What quantum mechanics found were things like electrons really didn't have a specific location until you measured it. Now, what's a measurement? A measurement is bringing into people's minds a conscious, say, number, but its consciousness gets involved for the first time. It's like the electron is out there. We really don't know where it is until we measure it. But it's like that connects things. And these interpretations, these guys in quantum mechanics found all these strange things going on, and they were trying to interpret them. And really that led them to the realization that consciousness is fundamental. Here's Schrodinger, who was, his name is associated with the key equation in quantum mechanics. Consciousness cannot be accounted for in physical terms, for consciousness is absolutely fundamental. It cannot be accounted for in terms of anything else. Here's Max Planck, another very famous person at that time who worked quantum mechanics, light, all kinds of stuff. These were the leading scientists of their era. I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Okay, so these ideas have been out there. Most people, okay, so what does that mean? What I want to do now is really show you a model, which I'll then connect up with health, which takes this concept very, very seriously. It says if consciousness is fundamental, it's not going to be explained by anything else. It's the fundamental thing. So it's the thing which you ought to use to explain everything else, because it's the most fundamental. So, you know, it's the basic axiom, if you will. And so that's what I want to do with you here and show you a model which takes consciousness as being the most fundamental. So let's take this blue here to represent what I call the universe of collective consciousness, the UCC. This contains everything consciousness touches, past, present, and future. Okay, so if consciousness is fundamental, anything consciousness touches is in this circle. So this is a representation of making this consciousness fundamental being in fact that. Now, this is very important to kind of get. Once you get the idea that anything consciousness touches is in this circle, the circle really can't be a circle. It's a circle without a boundary. Kind of a Zen thing, I guess. It's because as soon as you think, as soon as you try to imagine, as soon as you want to talk about something that's outside this circle, by the very nature of consciousness has just touched it, therefore it's in there. So this conversation is in there. These thoughts that you're having there are in there. If you say, oh, what about X being not in there? It's in there. Okay? So it's very important to understand that there are no boundaries in this UCC. Now, guess what? No boundary implies absolutely no separations between anything. This is, I believe, the ultimate definition of oneness, harmony. Maybe when we use the word spirituality, in some sense, it might be referring to something like this. When some people try to get into a nirvana state, and when they do that, when I'm unmuting, no, I'm muting people here. Okay. When they get into this nirvana state, they maybe then they have to disappear, right? Because there are no boundaries. But maybe that's close to this ultimate experience that some people report of nirvana, pure spirituality. Okay, so that's the UCC. No boundaries. But now guess what? We as conscious beings, define certain things. But since there's no such thing as a boundary, okay, let's make sure I've got this right here. Hold on. Okay, so we define things, we bring them out, okay, and we think of things as being separate. You know, I'm standing in front of I'm sitting in front of my computer here. I'm looking at a monitor. I see that monitor as a separate thing, but it can't be really separate totally from the UCC, because the UCC has no boundaries. So this thing that we're attempting to bring out has a fuzzy boundary. And actually, that makes sense. You know, exactly where does this monitor thing I'm looking at begin? And yeah, physically, it looks like it's got really good definition. But when I get right down to the edges, I really don't know if it does. It's putting out radiation. Is that part of the monitor or not? As soon as you start getting into the fine details, it's got a fuzzy boundary. Everything has a fuzzy boundary. Now, notice what that does. I've now introduced uncertainty. Since there is now a fuzzy boundary, I'm not in the UCC. I brought this thing out from the UCC. There's some uncertainty associated with it. It can't be crisp and clear. Also, notice the UCC has not gone away. So through this kind of uncertainty, I am still entangled with the UCC, right? The UCC is everywhere, every place, every time, everything. Okay. And then I've now introduced this idea of entanglement energy and a communication channel, since I've somehow, I don't know how, but I know I have brought this out from the UCC, and these things are introduced to maintain the illusion of separateness, if you will. Okay, I mean, somehow my consciousness has brought this out and made it separate. So these very, very fundamental things in our lives, which we basically actually take for granted, come out of taking seriously consciousness as fundamental. Now, guess what? The whole physical universe, that's a thing, right? We're living it, we're experiencing it. You know, it's a pretty magnificent thing. You know, it's got space, time, energy, mass, black holes, stars, all that kind of stuff, but it's still a thing. Now, its fuzzy boundary, now that I'm talking about it as one thing, its fuzzy boundary is a collection of all the other kind of fuzzies within it, but it necessarily has a fuzzy boundary. The UCC now is really non-physical, right? We have brought out the physical universe. The UCC is a non-physical universe of ideas, including concepts, ideas of space, time, energy, mass, all the same things that are in our physical, but in the idea space. Hey, the idea of a flat earth, it's in the UCC, right? We talk about the flat earth. There's an idea of the flat earth. That doesn't mean it's actually the way the physical universe works. So the UCC has a lot more than is in our physical universe. But it also contains mathematical equations like Newtonian physics, the ideas of F equal ma, right? Newton's, all of his ideas. The idea space comes from the UCC. And when we live in our physical universe and when we do our measurements, guess what? We find out that that's pretty darn good. That got us to the moon, got us to Mars. This works. These general ideas work in our physical universe. Well, same thing for quantum mechanics. Same things for general relativity. And you know what? There are probably going to be future models that are down there now that we are not yet aware of. But those are in the UCC. So just to get another impression of this, whatever thing you bring out, like the physical universe, the idea, the pure idea of it in the UCC, conceptually might be like this. Um, um, Quantum mechanics, general relativity, what else? Now, the physical universe really exists because of this fuzzy boundary. Okay. Now, let's talk about our experience of consciousness. When we experience consciousness, we experience it one moment at a time. Okay, we have our now conscious moment, and it's a thing, right? And it's certainly fuzzy. I mean, how long is it? How long is this now? It goes into the next now. It seems seamless. Sleep is sort of interesting because you tend to lose it the same way we have it now, yet you know something's going on. But we have this now conscious moment. And this entanglement energy somehow is existing between the UCC and your experience of this now conscious moment. I mean, you know there's energy involved. You can feel it, you can sense it. And you do things where we're using energy in the normal sense that we use that word. But under this, your now conscious moment, you know it directly, undeniable. You know it better than probably anything else. In fact, I would say you do know it better than anything else. But under that, there's this submerged consciousness, this subconscious mind, your sub, all of those things, which are somehow between these two. And it also is a thing, but we indeed know that exists because of memory and future memory, frankly. Now let's talk about time. Okay, here's your one now moment, but guess what? You have another one. You have another one. You have another one. So we live in a physical world where time, the idea of time, and then how we experience it are rather important. Well, this communication channel, which is what takes us through time, right? Somehow you go from one now moment to another, to another, to another. So there's some kind of communication channel which is going on, but this is clearly two-way, okay? We are picking up stuff from the UCC somehow, and yet we're putting it down because our now moments are recorded down there. And again, I just make the point, this uncertainty principle, this fuzzy boundary is so important. In fact, it leads to creativity and free will. When you're down in the UCC directly, it's just being, right? You're just being there. You're not doing anything. There's nothing to create. It's all there, past, present, and future. There are no choices to be made. So the experiences of choices and all of that comes because you're a conscious being in the now, and there are possible outcomes, but you get to choose one, which you get to make real. Okay, I want to connect this first with ARV, and I want to show you how. The UCC includes you and all of your now conscious moments, okay? In fact, one way of looking at your whole life is a conscious moments from the moment of conception to the moment of your death in this physical life. One of the things which you can do is, and we do this with meaning, we define events. You know, you have an event you're attending right now, listening to me, looking at the screen, and it's multiple nows. But you've had many previous events in your life. And one of the things we can do is we can ignore mostly these events. They're still down in the UCC, but you're not particularly conscious of them unless something triggers it. So you've got this ability to decrease entanglement, right? You've forgotten about lots of other things that have happened to you. Well, let's now also recognize that you can increase entanglement. And you've done that when you've tried to learn something brand new, or you've had a really, really good event. Somehow that entanglement of that event is much stronger. And the same for negative events. They get triggered more easily, say. Okay, so imagine now you can decrease and increase entanglement. Imagine if one of your event is a remote viewing session. Your other event is a feedback session. Well, guess what you want to do? Your consciousness is creating a handshake between these two events when you do your precognition. When you do actually retrocausality, which is looking at it this way, completely entangled from the feedback session back to the remote viewing session, but you can enhance the entanglement. And quantum mechanics actually has theorems about that. I mean, plus you just know this. I'm not actually telling you anything you don't know. But what this model emphasizes is, hey, when you're doing ARV, do everything you can to increase this entanglement. And you get to do that through your fuzzy boundary, which connects up with the UCC, where all the information is. Now, let's for the first time connect this with health. A very important statement was made by Joe McMonagle, probably the, or at least one of the best remote viewers in the world, and Ed May, who spent most of his, at least later years of his career in this general area of psi, was a major scientist in Stargate, etc. Took over from Puthoff and Targ at, from Puthoff at SRI. Okay, they made this statement. What is clear, at least to those of us on our long established team, is that intention, attention, and expectation play a very important role in the success of both application and research of remote viewing. Application, which is what we're doing, and we always emphasize intention, attention, and expectation. And what you're paying attention to is your own now moments. Now, this exact same thing works for health. Okay? What we do in ARV is we describe and sketch your coordinate feedback target. Well, imagine if you were to describe and sketch your healthy self. Okay? You know, we get into the negative of health because we take health for granted so much, which is terrific when we can. But when we can't, one part of you is going bad. Do you want to know something? You still have an awful lot of other healthy stuff in you. And you can use that energy to assist your body by setting intention and expectation to heal what's bothering you. I just believe that. I think we've all seen these or know about these spontaneous healings. How did that happen? The body has these enormous capabilities to do that. And we ought to all learn how to do that more and more. And in fact, I'm going to give you some ideas here, but you're going to have to learn how to do this directly. Vince, why don't you turn off your video? Okay, wait, I think maybe I can do it from here. Okay. Okay, so we're now getting into this whole idea of health as a thing, which comes from the UCC with the fuzzy boundary, right? Well, it's with that fuzzy boundary where you have the choices. Quantum mechanics says that there are all kinds of possibilities out there, like for where the electron is, like where your health is going to be a year from now. All those possibilities are out there, and yet moment to moment, you're experiencing what really happens. And those moment to moments are influenced by what you do in those moments with your intention, attention, and expectation. So another part of this is beliefs. Do you believe what I'm indicating here? That you personally, your body, your consciousness, your connections to the UCC have the capability of making you healthier, okay? You need to get into a place where you can believe that, and guess what? It'll work then better and better for you. Deeper and deeper you believe it and actually see it work. The ultimate in a healthy self is preventative illness, is to just stay healthy. You know, most of us are born very healthy. We stay healthy for a very long time, given just reasonable care. Our bodies are quite strong, okay? And if you can get into a place where you just stay healthy, that's the best and maybe even the easiest. Okay, so we have this idea of ARV, where your psychic self, remote view or feedback, this is precognitive telepathy. Notice you are the ones who are involved here. There isn't anything else. It's your remote viewing, your feedbacking. Here you're doing precognition because the viewpoint is forward in time. Here's the feedback doing retrocausality because it's just a viewpoint. You're now acting as if information is going backwards in time. Actually, it's already out there. The UCC has all this information. The idea of the eternal now, where the information is out there and you just get to experience it a moment at a time, is really the way it seems reality is, certainly with the UCC model. So, but when you think about it in time, this is retro causing the information to get on your transcript. So the present now moment, and this is what this teaches us. This is why precognition is so important, because it teaches us that the present now moment influences both the past. This present now moment is influencing the past and the future. This present now moment influences your feedback session. Clearly, you wouldn't have it. I mean, this one we all take for granted, but it's every now moment influences both the past and the future. Okay, so who really is the you here? Now, that's a deep and important question, and I'm not going to answer it for you. You have to answer that for yourself. But you are pretty cool. You can do this thing called precognition plus all the other stuff that you can do. So, if your future can influence your remote viewing session, why not believe and deeply accept that your future nows can influence your long-term health? And indeed it can. Indeed it can. This whole idea of precognitive health, this idea that your now moments and what you do in your now moments, and not only the obvious things like, you know, it's best not to take arsenic in large doses and things of that sort. Um, um, and, in addition to even the obvious good things, you know, have an apple a day, keep a doctor away, whatever you believe at the level of the physical world affecting your health, which indeed it does, there's this idea that your subconscious can affect the world, that the UCC has all kind of information in it that you would need to live a healthier life. And getting into that mindset, maybe even doing sessions, will indeed be able to improve your health. So that's the idea of precognitive health. Always done in the now, but affecting the future. And notice you do this consistently for the long term. The future then is affecting you as you're getting healthier and healthier in the past. So one last time on this. your attention is in the now moment. When you're thinking about this health idea with positive intention and expectation for health, you know, you might get a little cool, do like a cool down, get a little quiet, add some energy to it. This is important to me now. I'm really seeing myself as being really healthy. Oh, I'm feeling really good. Okay. And you do that in this now, but you do the exact same thing in the future nows. You just keep that mindset with you. And yes, you're going to ultimately take it for granted. But you reinforce it as often as you feel is necessary. It becomes just a standard part of your life to reinforce it. Most of us spent no time with this kind of mindset, and I'm recommending that we do. Now, ultimately, your opinion of yourself is your most important viewpoint. You are infinitely greater than you think you are. Goddard said that. Do you believe that? Can you get into a place where you believe that you're really that powerful? Ultimately, Galileo said this, you cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. So this stuff has to resonate with you for you then to be willing to put some of your energy into applying it. This power has always lived within you. Claim it. Why not? Okay, a poem, which I think connects up really all of this kind of nicely. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes. The tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys and 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. So your environment right now, what's going on with you from now, really is both your looking glass and the place that you can influence what's going to happen in the future with your mind. Okay, that's the health part. Let me just see if anybody wants to ask a question, a comment, want me to clarify anything, tell me this is a bunch of baloney. Feel free. You can turn on your mics, put something in the chat box, or we'll move on. As you can see, I consider these topic portions of this. In fact, this is one of the reasons I do it, is to share the broader information associated with precognition and ARV. Okay, so then we'll go on. Let's now talk about wealth. Wealth, oops, wait, wrong one. Wealth, and this is from a dictionary definition, wealth is the abundance of valuable resources or material possessions. Wealth includes the core meaning as held in the originating Old English word weal, and weal was a sound, healthy, or prosperous state. An individual, community, region, or country that possesses an abundance of such possessions or resources to the benefit of the community, the benefit of the common good, is known as wealthy. So, you know, there are a lot of different understandings of wealth. This is the one that I want us to focus on. And in fact, this is the one that if you want wealth using precognition, a lot of other things, I think needs to be in your consciousness. Namely, you're getting this not just for rather narrow purposes for yourself, but you're getting it for a community. You're getting it for others. Hey, the UCC shows we're all one. That's the highest kind of spiritual idea. We are one. Well, wanting to be wealthy should include that. And if it does, that'll make you feel so good that I think it'll improve your remote viewing, because you're clearly doing it for the common good, which is part of what you're connecting to. Now, your beliefs, and many of these are so deep that you may not even be aware of them as being an important part of you. But notice when stuff comes up from the UCC through your submerged consciousness up to your conscious mind, it's going through a lot of stuff, right? We don't know how that works, but what we call the psyche, which is a lot like psychic, right? The psyche is this deep stuff which is collected, all of your now moments and your beliefs. Well, we've all heard this. Money is the root of all evil. Do you believe that? Money is a limited resource. It's selfish to want a lot of money. Hey, I'm taking it away from somebody else. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I'm just not good with money. Only corrupt, dishonest, unethical people have lots of money. Money is very, very important. Money is not that important at all. It's only money. Uh, you know, our belief systems on all of this will influence what we do when we do ARV and wager. As soon as you bring wagering into it, as soon as you say, I now want to get wealthy on this, which is, I think, a good thing, okay? Money is a form of potential energy. Money can be part of wealth, but you need to feel really good about making the money, and because the money then is going to help make you wealthy, which you are then going to share in a way which is really going to feel good to you and good for the community and other things like that. And again, that's very personal, what you do with it. A lot of people, I just heard this independently from so many people, give 10% of their earnings using ARV and other remote viewing techniques to a charity of their choice. That's one way to do it. But it's got to make sense to you. Okay, so I hope you have that point. Now, when you think about it, money is just a form of potential energy. I would love more and more people who have the kind of mindset that our groups of people have, to have lots more money. I think they would use it in very good ways. They would use it in ways that they felt were positive and helpful. Okay, and this is the truth. Precognition is, of course, real. And yes, viewers can apply it for dollars. They can become wealthy and hopefully use it in a very positive way. And this truth is like a lion. Um, you don't have to defend it. Just do it. Let it loose. It will defend itself. And that's the phase I think we're in now. I think our community, and this is the Psi community, is in a place now where it's really our job to let it loose more and more. Let's get wealthy. Let's share it. Let it be known. Let other people use their psychic talents. Time to get out of the closet and show that this stuff is really good for society, because this consciousness paradigm shift is going to come when society realizes not only is it real, because actually most people have had enough experiences that they believe that, but that it's a good thing, that the changes involved with it will eventually be good for society. So this idea that money can be part of healthy wealth is really clear, and one of the things which each of us needs to do is get that deep into our subconscious. And ARV is one approach if reliable hit rates can be achieved for the long term. You know, you get up to 70, 75% consistently, and we have our Precog Pro program, and I'll be able to assist you with your talent to be able to make money. Now, part of that is this healthy wealth includes not only wager wisely, but I believe it includes grow rich slowly. And I believe that because once you get into your belief system that you can do this, that precognition is real and I can really be 75% precogger, why rush it? It's there. And live it slowly, integrate it into your life slowly, so that you are not one of those guys who wins the lottery and 2 years later is back right where they were. You need to integrate this into your life. So get rich slowly. Okay, no questions, no comments. Good. Let's do feedback. Now, I'm just sort of reminding you that it's you who create your precognition when you did your remote viewing session. And we're now getting into the feedback sessions. We're about to know the truth, but it's you who generally are able to modify and influence your remote viewing session. Now, you did a little of this in terms of what we're about to do. It was active then. How much? Well, we'll see some of the sessions and you'll be able to judge that. But now, when you're doing the feedback session, you can't imagine that you're going to change your remote viewing session. Okay? It had it and has it now, but it's not going to change the remote viewing session. And this all has to do with this idea that everything is out there already. What's important is to keep the mindset and grow the mindset that you know your feedback session was intimately connected with the remote viewing session. When you were doing the remote viewing session, you were gaining information from the feedback session. So you want the feedback session to be as robust, as positive, as enthusiastic, everything you can imagine to get it to share information with the remote viewing session. So that's the whole idea. It is indeed retrocausal, but don't expect to see your transcript magically change. It's retrocausal in this magical way that time is, in fact, which is not only forward sharing information, it's backwards. So you are the creator of your precognitive RV transcript. You created that. And that's when you set your intentions and expectations for those creations, which includes gathering information from the feedback session. Okay, so we're going to be doing two. The first one is this 835725. It was from the Golden State Warriors. Will they win the championship? Our prediction, and this is a group prediction, as you'll see, some people go one way, some people will go the other way, and that's really natural, but then I have to make a group prediction, and that was a pass. The actual outcome was yes, and that was photosite B. The way no yes and yes no are associated with the two possible targets, which are photosites now, is done randomly. So in this case, it was photosite B. And the second one we're doing is 901581, and that had to do with the Dow Jones being over 24,000. That prediction was also a pass, and the outcome was yes for that. It was over, and that is photo site B as well. Again, but that's random. That won't happen when we do our next one. That's necessarily, we won't know. The computer does that. Okay, so, and there's nothing wrong with past predictions. It's hard to kind of get that, even as a group manager, and especially as a viewer. You put in all this time and attention, and you hate the pass. Don't. Passes are good. You know, if you weren't on that day, not everybody, not anybody can be on all the time. Joe McMonagle makes that point all the time. You're just not on every time, and if you're not, it's time to pass. I just wanted to show the Dow Jones one. Um, this is a long-term kind of chart. Here was 24,000, and on the date we chose, you can see we were well over 24,000. Okay. So, how do I get my feedback target, you might ask, for your newbies? And we're using this winning entanglements protocol. It's all done online. Your original tasking was done with an email, and your feedback is done with an email as well. So this was that email which I put together. I'm just showing it to you here. And you can see it's the Golden State Warriors. And you would then click on this link and put in your email address, because generally everyone gets their own unique target, photo site target. But in this case, we use my name, and I went and already got that just to save a little time. And you can see for 835725, this is the feedback target. Okay, and so during the feedback sessions, we now we'll do our feedback. Now I have access to the transcripts that the people used, so let's do some. Now I don't know if Anita, are you here? You are here. Okay, cool, Anita. You know, to do the full feedback session and to go over all of these would take a lot of time. But maybe you want to come on and in just a few minutes, just give us the highlights of the good stuff for B that matched this. See, during your feedback session, you want to emphasize all the good stuff. You want to say, hey, subconscious, you really brought up all this good stuff for me. Thank you. And then, Anita, you might add something new. So why don't you think if you can kind of summarize that kind of briefly?
Goodness. Yeah, I did get a lot of information. If I look at the big picture, wavy, blue, I would say that is water, definitely. What else?
You had water. You have this.
Yes,
like a river.
the shape like a triangle there at the bottom, in the middle, almost like a little thing with a roof. Makes me reminds me of the shape of the boat.
Yep.
Also the diamond shape, maybe.
And yep. Definitely structures and stuff like that.
Definitely structures. Yes. Also at the top right there, almost something like a hat, reminds me of a thing sticking out of the water.
Oh, here.
Just in the blue yard. Yes.
Yep. And there might be things now that you see that you didn't quite give credit for. I'm not saying we should do it now, but now is the time when you do go over all of these, especially the good ones. You want to verify. Especially the good ones. Absolutely. Oh, I'm getting an echo.
Is it okay?
Oh, why can't I mute this M? Okay. So Okay, Anita. Now, I do hope that you'll take your transcript and really do a fuller session.
Yes.
And generally for these webinars, people don't, and I know that. Okay, you know, but you just might, because I think then we would get even a higher hit rate. We're already doing a bunch of them, but a higher hit rate on the webinar ones. But anyway, here's one here, and I really like, and all of you take note of, she marked every single element, every single precept with either an A or B, sometimes both, and sometimes you leave them blank. You know, hot didn't fit, you know, didn't know. So you just don't put anything next to it. And then you can count them up and do a ratio compared to the total. And sometimes you didn't put that on here, but then ultimately you come up with this confidence ranking, which I'll talk about shortly, which we have to do. So, okay, thank you, Anita. Let me go to the next one. Jack, are you here? Okay, I'm not sure you're here, but this is another one where, again, the markings were really great. I like that. Oh, you are here.
Yeah.
Terrific. Tell us a little bit, you know, summarize what you see here. Well, how do you think you would do your feedback session?
Well, I'm not totally sure on this. I've only been doing this stuff for a couple months now. I mean, I've done remote viewing in the past. I took a lot of training long ago, but as far as the scoring, I went through the same way and picked, you know, went on A and marked anything that I thought applied to picture A and then picture B.
Notice what else you did, which I want everybody to do on their sessions, is you counted up the number of A's, you counted up the number of B's, and you took a ratio.
Right.
And this ratio, whenever it's 0.5 or more, you start getting really interested. Okay? So 0.65 was pretty good. And that's, I'm talking to your analytical self here now. But when you do your feedback session, the first thing you should do, I think, and I do this, is circle the good stuff. Feel really happy about it. Look at this. I got structure. I got man-made. I got, and notice you made these small, but still, you got black and gray. But the outdoor, that was really good. And so the other one was outdoors. Who cares? It gave you outdoor for this one, for the real target. This certainly, to me, looks like water. See, I would now, you gave it a little B at the time. I look at this now and I see that, oh my God, that really looks like all this rivery stuff, you know, the way this is going to go out, even though I can't see it, I could certainly imagine it looking just like this. And so I would say, thank you, Sub, for doing that. And you know what? I say, you know what? Maybe next time I would give a little bit more credit to that as being water. And I look at this, and it's always so much easier to do in retrospect, but that's where your learning comes in, by doing it over and over again. But I look at this, and you gave it a 3. We know 3.5 means I'm willing to wager maybe a little bit on it if I'm going to wager, but that it's wagerable. That's 3.5. And I would think, looking at this, looking at the 0.65, that this indeed outdoors, this shape, even these lines, you know, again, you saw that it was a little B like here, but I would think you could have gone up to a 4 on this.
A 4 on the B?
Yeah, certainly a 3.5, and maybe even as high as a 4. Only because the stuff you got was good. And the water, okay. And now what I would do if I were you is I would say, gee, how did I miss the water, sub? Next time, give me water. And I'm doing it right now because this helps me. I'm actually putting my hand in that water and trying to see what it might feel like and get the word water to come into my consciousness as I'm getting into the water there. You see what I'm saying? I am working with my subconscious and now teaching it to do water. And maybe you can come up with another way of doing water. Maybe you want to write water all over another sheet of paper, again, to get the physical into it so that next time you get water, water will come up to your conscious mind. So that's kind of the idea. Bridge and suspension bridge, they're usually over water, which is interesting, but I don't think that's close enough. I would like my sub to do better than that.
Yeah. I had a question in general.
Mm-hmm.
When we're doing the judging, do we look at the AOLs at all?
The AOLs, and this is actually a personal choice. So what I do is I only give it credit if it's right on, and I don't take anything away if it's off. Now, should you do that? I don't know. You know, each of us have to make our own decisions at that level. But that's what I do. If an AOL is right on, had water come in here as an AOL, you got bridge, suspension, you say, oh, there must be water around, then I would have given it credit as a B.
Okay.
But I don't take off anything. I don't count this as an element, in other words.
Right, okay.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack. And let me go to the next one. Okay, this is Donna. Are you here? Good, Donna. Again, I don't want to take too much time. I just want to do this as a teaching thing. You gave it a 4. Why don't you tell us what were the main things as we look here at it, because all of us can look at it. Do you have a mic? Here, let me see if I can, I'll unmute you. Okay, Donna, do you want to say if you don't want to say anything, you don't have to, certainly. So.
Hello?
Yep, I'm hearing you now.
Okay. Can you hold on just a second?
Yeah. You gave it a 4. Outdoors, fairly open, landscape, fresh air, metal, okay. Sharp. So you got stuff from the boat too. Yep.
Yes, I did. So my first impression there was definitely the foliage and the green.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept having the feeling of roll, like shaped like a roll or rolling.
Yep.
So that was the first impression. Then, yeah, you're right. That sharp metal point coming out was pretty definite.
Right here. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then the feeling of path, or that there was a path or an open area to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Flowing out.
Yep. Opens to a path or road, right. Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the sketch above the metal thing, you kind of see where I was seeing the pathways. It just felt like a pathway or a way to go, or try to go. In their case, try to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe this boat. The other two got out trouble. Okay. Okay, very good. What do you wish you had done that you didn't do?
I wish that I would have felt more the feeling of water. I would have sensed the water more. Mm-hmm. Floating. Stranded, maybe a feeling of being stranded or not being able to move forward.
Good.
And I don't know, maybe there's the feeling I did put it down there, but I said it feels like a view from a vista. So I wanted to have, I was glad that I had the feeling that I was looking out, but maybe more the feeling of looking up from the, looking from the top.
Or looking down.
Yeah,
it's
like I was up on
definitely
top of
you.
the photo.
Very good. And your consciousness can get all of that. And so the feedback session is the time to add that level of stuff. And I love it. I think we're all learning. You don't add, gee, I wish I could have sketched this boat in detail. What you get are the kind of level things that you're talking about that the subconscious can communicate and kind of sees the big picture of.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at more, I was really worried about having an opening. Like, like if I was driving the boat, you could see I've got all these paths there that.
No, that was good.
Get out.
And who knows why your subconscious chose to do that, but it did, and it was clearly sharing information about that picture.
Well, we have a boat, and we've been in a couple scrapes, so maybe.
I see. Maybe, it's going through your whole past and future history too now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now let's look at the other one. So now we're looking at the other one. This was the Dow Jones Industrial. It was also Photosite. You would click here and you'd put in your email address. So I put in mine, and here's the feedback target for 901-581. And it really, the words I put here, I did it a long time ago, but I think they're just still right. Do your transcript feedback session for this Photosite target, right? So you can pick up everything and you create the transcript target entanglements. You're doing the retrocausality now, but it was picked up earlier. And then all you would do, and some people kind of forget to do this, they do their session, but always put in your comments, describe your feelings, your ideas. Here, hey, if you just blow it, hey, I did a bad miss, but I'm looking forward to getting better in the future, and this is what I learned, what new ideas came up. This is available to you later, all of these comments. So they're really for your benefit. And so putting what was going on with you here will help you later. And okay, so here's one from Lila. Lila, you here? Lila is usually here. I'm looking. Oh, yeah, there you are, Lila. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, and you gave this a 5, so why don't you, briefly summarize why? So that was a real good one, and it was the hit, so that was really good.
Yeah, look at my dynamics.
Yeah,
I'm getting
dynamics,
feedback.
rushing, crashing, and in fact, I'd even put floating, floating. I can see why you didn't, but now you'd say, yes, sub, you were really trying to tell me stuff floating in the water.
I'm getting some feedback in my headphones. I don't know if you can clear that up or not.
I'm not hearing that.
Oh, well, okay, I'll just deal with it.
Yeah, it's coming from.
So I had an AOL of water.
Yep.
Outdoors.
Yep.
Now, you know what's funny? I didn't mark furry. And aren't bears furry?
Absolutely. And that's an important point. I'm really glad you shared that, because now you're going to get to look at the elements again, and you will probably find some that you might have missed, and also some that you some that you missed, since we're looking at the feedback target. And it'll help you for your judging next time. So be open to that. Very good.
And another interesting texture is scaly. I don't know if I spelled that right.
Where is that one?
It's in my textures, the last one.
Right. Spelling doesn't count, though, so don't worry.
Good.
Spelling doesn't count at all, as long as your judge can understand it. And that's the only reason handwriting counts.
As far as my colors go, I marked pink because I think that's a pink salmon,
Yeah.
but I don't know. But
Okay.
it was spotted.
But did you, I mean, notice you got 20 Bs,
Yeah.
and that was really good. Some people put both of them here, and that's fine because that reminds them. And not during the feedback session, but after the feedback session, it's worth seeing if you might have judged it wrong. That usually happens when you get a miss. Here you got a hit, so you probably wouldn't even want to do that.
Yeah, my dynamics were interesting. Rushing, crashing.
Yep.
Oh, I guess I mentioned that. Round. I remember during the session we talked about whether or not the bears are round, and I think they're round.
Yeah, but you gave it a little B, because that isn't quite as right on. This was the motion in the water.
I guess, or the fish coming up.
Yep, you gave it a big B, and the fish coming up. Yeah, right on. No, that's really good. And you primarily use the count here and not the gestalt. Some people, and I meant to mention that earlier, will mark a G for gestalt or an F actually for FIG, first impression gestalt. But when you do your judging, you do it based on this count mostly and then the TARC scale.
Yes.
Which is fine. Everybody's does it their own way. Here's another, I just had to put this here, from a newbie, so be gentle. I try to always be gentle. Andrea, are you here? Let's see. I don't see an Andrea. But if you are here, turn on your mic. Okay, I'll assume you're not. But this is one where, you've got your transcript. You now see the picture. And so the very first thing I would do, and she would remember more of this, she actually wrote the word fish. Smells. She got a fish smell. Now, you see what I would do, right? You think that's right on? I would make that a bigger B. When I judged it, I would have made that a bigger B. You couldn't be more right on than that, correct, for that element? So I'd make that a bigger B. Ocean, yeah, I got the water idea right there. That's really good. And fish, that's terrific. Sub, thank you for giving me that. That is so good. Maybe even expansive. I didn't mark it, but this certainly, it doesn't take much to realize that this is an expansive type of site. I'm not stretching it at all. You get A's, red, yellow, the stream. And let's see what else marked as B's. Rolling around, breezy. Very good. Got dynamics. Thank you, Sub. I would now add, Sub, I wish I got brown. You got green and blue, but brown would have been good. Let's take a moment right now and get the feeling for brown. And let's write brown. I'd love that word to come up. Words are ideas, of course, right? From the UCC, words are ideas, and most people get words. Some people just do sketches, but most people get words and sketches. In fact, every case I think we've seen so far is like that, and that is typical. So next time I see something that, and now I'm looking at what brown is. Brown. Oh, I just focused on white. Most things have white anyway. Brown. Go back to brown. Okay. So that would be the kind of thing I would do on that kind of feedback. So in terms of learning what to do, this is guidance. Everybody does their feedback sessions differently, but all the good viewers pay a lot of attention to the feedback. In the original SRI days, when they did what were called outbounders, they would always take the viewer to the outbounder site. Okay, this was a hidden site, randomly chosen, sometimes precognitively chosen after the session was done, but the viewers would always be driven to the site. Now, how's that for paying a lot of attention to your feedback? So each of you and each of us should do that during our feedback sessions. Now, during these sessions, we might, I don't know, get too upset. Get upset, sure, for a short period of time if you got a miss. Think about the other picture a little bit if you can't help yourself. And some people write it down, and the viewer is in charge. But just when you get into a negative mode of any form, just turn it around. Use this 5-second rule. You know, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. This has to do with food and little kids, at least we used to use it. If it drops on the floor, and you know the floor isn't too dirty, I suppose, hey, you can still pick it up within 5 seconds. Anyway, you want to stay as positive as possible during all of your sessions. Okay. Questions, comments? Feel free to turn on your mics if you do have any of those in time, if something isn't clear enough. So, we're about to do a prediction. Precognitive prediction. You've seen this picture enough now. I hope you understand it. It's all about information sharing. You're generating a transcript now, but the information is coming from the truth point when you see your feedback photo site target. Nothing else matters. That's the information you care about. If you're doing a good job, you're getting a lot of that information. You get any other information? It's just, why bother? And you might ask your sub sometime, if it gives you something which is just totally wrong, why did you do that? I will give you a hint right now about the kind of information you look for, because the subconscious often surprises. Often you get the feeling it's coming out of nowhere. The exact opposite of the way the intellect works, right? The intellect is rather methodical. It's got its own feeling about it when you're using the intellect. Also, feeling about it when you're using your kind of day-to-day ego. And I mean that ego in the best sense of the word. You know, your day-to-day. You get through your own day using, we call it an ego, okay? But that has a different feeling about it than when stuff comes through the subconscious. It just sort of comes up instantly, fast. It's like just there. So that's what you look for. So what you're doing here is you're describing, sketching your target. But guess what? That's what you do here as well. You describe and sketch your target during your feedback session, and you share information. Okay. That's you, both cases. So let's now do a new prediction for 1 month in the future. This is a type of front loading. In app, often so, because a lot of people like to wager on their own, so we often give them what the prediction is. And that could be considered a kind of front loading, because you might want the Dow to go up over 26,000 rather than be under 26,000. But, you know, this is no big deal. And a lot of people, Lynn, Joe, Paul, talk about getting over front loading, which mostly is to just ignore it. Since notice, it's got nothing to do with what your task is. Your task is to describe and sketch the feedback target. And there are two possibilities, but you won't know which possibility is associated with yes or which is associated with no. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I just wanted to say a few words about the front loading. Now ignore all that. Now, how do you start? Well, with we always start with emails. And I sent out this email, and I'm now going to have to go to it to do it. So this is really precognition in all the best senses of the word. So I now have to find my email. It's training. And I did send it earlier and highlighted it. So here it is. So here's the event. Will Adalda Jones close over 2600? So as the group manager, I put that text in there, and the computer generated this, this link, which I'll now click. And this is exactly what you would do. Okay. And then you put in your personal email. I do this as a representative of all of us. We're doing this in the webinar workshop group, and we have one coordinate, two coordinates. When you become more comfortable with this, I can tell you about the two coordinates. But for now, just we're doing one coordinate. I'll now click it. As simple as that. And there is your coordinate. It's both up there, and let's put it over here. So start your RV session when you feel good about doing the session, okay? And we're going to do that. I'll give you some guidance on that. You can do self-judging or independent judging. Here we always do self-judging, though if there's somebody in your household that can do judging for you, you can have them do that now as well. The key thing is on the top of a sheet of paper, and say it out loud. Say 4, 6, 8, 6, 7, 6. Say it out loud. Why are you saying it out loud? That helps set your intention for entangling with the feedback session when that 4, 6, 8, 6, 7, 6 will be said out loud again. Okay? In fact, in retrospect, I wish I had said the previous two much louder. But that's the whole idea. You're doing everything you can to increase the entanglement. Well, you can do this at remote viewing time, setting your intention to describe and sketch the target associated with 4, 6, 8, 6, 7, 6. And then once we get a transcript, you would then browse to find it on your computer and submit it. But first, of course, right now, you need to start your remote viewing session. You have your coordinate. Just a few more words. In fact, some of you have your coordinate already. And if you want, you know, if you've done this enough and you feel comfortable, and I'm not going to give you some insights and all of that, you can start. In fact, I did that first just to give some of you more time. Okay, but now to get you into the mindset of this, for those of you who are still with me, this idea that consciousness is fundamental, much more fundamental in time. So you use your coordinate, and saying it out loud is a kind of a beacon to entangle with your feedback target that you're going to see a month from now. But time doesn't matter. You know, you're going to say it out loud, and it'll bring it back, and it's down in the UCC already. And so that's where you're going to get your information. And this is this intention. Already you're setting your intention. We're talking about it. Normally you would do this yourself. When you start, you're going to be paying really close attention to the stuff that comes up from the subconscious. Put it on your transcript and expect to be successful. You're going to get a lot of this good stuff. Why not? You can do it, and that's your expectation. Now, Transcripts, and you've seen examples which one way or another basically do all of this. You start with your coordinate. Some people call it the target reference number because that's what the coordinate is. It's intimately connected with the photo site target. And you put your name and the date and the time on the right. And once you start, typically the gestalts, what are called first impression gestalts, will come in, and they are important. Things like maybe water, mountains, the big picture stuff. Some pictures are just dominated by one color. Sometimes a color can be a gestalt. But it's the stuff that when you look at the pictures that just hit you first. And we've talked about AOLs, and these are the kind of things that your nervous system can give you. All of this stuff. Okay, textures, colors, smells. If you want a copy of the sheet, I'll get it to you. Some people just make it on their own. It reinforces what these are. And then there's always room for sketches. And a lot of people, as you've seen, mix all these things up. Everybody comes up with their own style. A lot has to do with the way the things come in from your subconscious. It becomes very personal, and you'll develop your own technique. So with that preliminary, let's do it. This cool down is important because it gets rid of the noise. You want to get rid of all the day-to-day stuff that's going on in your life. I'm about to give you a 10-minute hemisync. It's kind of white noise, but it's more than that. It was actually designed to just help you with, in particular, it helped Joe McMonagle, made his cool down much shorter, but it certainly helps get rid of the day-to-day stuff as well. And people come up with how much time they use, but roughly half, a few minutes or so, 5 minutes for the cool down, and then the other 5 minutes for getting the stuff which comes up. And it always comes up quickly, sort of like a memory. It just comes out of nowhere, and then you put it down on your transcript, whatever comes up, put it on your transcript, and then you get quiet again, go down into your, and ask your sub for more information about the target, and it comes up. Okay. And then you're setting it now. This will be the link. I'm about to click it. There is a quiet 5-minute notice, and then there's a 1-minute notice near the end, and I'll verbally give you that 1-minute notice. Okay, so get yourself, start quieting down. Might stretch a little bit, and I'm turning this on now, and I'll be back with you in 9 minutes.
About 1 minute to go.
You have a minute to go. Perhaps get another perception or two. Okay. Come on back to your normal state. Somebody indicated that they didn't hear hemisync. It may have been when I, excuse me, when I muted myself, it turned off. Did you hear it at the beginning? Paul, you were the one who pointed that out. Did you hear it at the beginning and then at the end? No. Okay. I heard it at this end. So maybe I need to make it louder or something. I'll experiment with that separately. So at this point, you got to do the session while it was quiet. And I hope you felt comfortable with that. Okay, now, the next step, and let's go back to the presentation. The next step is judging. So I recommend stretching, taking, usually, you know, when you're here on your own, you take a break. It's a different mindset entirely when you're doing your judging. Now it really wants to be intellectual. Either you or an independent judge will have two photos to look at. We don't even know what they are yet, but we will get those shortly. And you need to do a match. This is the time when there is some danger. Deborah Katz made this slide here, made it really to try to get your attention. And I'm not quite sure it doesn't give too much attention to it, but it is here where information about the decoy, remember I used that word, the other possible target is here because you're going to look at two photos. We do not want the information about both photos, and certainly not about the decoy, to be transmitted to your remote viewing session. So she's saying, you know, be a little bit careful. It's dangerous. She says, project and anchor your attention to time and actual physical space where the feedback will be seen with your physical eyes. That's what you did in your remote viewing session. Now, just be intellectual. But I did come up with one other thing which you might try, and let me know how it works. And that's this idea of psychic shielding. So what you want to do now is shield yourself from any information not relevant to the feedback target. And you can see the images here. The woman image is sort of the idea. Here's one where information, and notice the information, if it comes, would be coming from you if you do self-judging, or an independent judge. And we've done all kinds of things with independent judges. And you as a viewer, since you have access to everything, can get the information from the judge's mind if for some reason that's your desire. And it's not a conscious desire, but it happens. It happens. Now, I just wanted to read this because I liked it. This was white magic. I cast this circle of protection in every elemental direction to feel the universal connection. So she's putting a circle out to connect with everything, but the idea we're doing is putting a boundary on which elements we're going to let in, and we're only going to let in the judging elements. But the white magic is what you'd imagine to me. It's magic that is meant to benefit others without coming at the expense of someone or something. Basically, white magic is considered to be good magic filled with positive vibes. So that's really what we're about. White magic is great for everyone thanks to the threefold law. The cool thing about magic is that whatever you give to others, you get back to yourself times 3. This is called the threefold law. So if you give out good vibes, then you'll get 3 times that amount of goodness headed back to you. Even if your spell isn't for you, it will benefit you. So this is a kind of spell in that terminology, where we're doing this spell to take out anything other than what we're going to be doing during our judging, which is intellectual. We'll have all the information in front of us, and we're just going to use that information, but we're not going to share it outside of this session. And we're doing this to benefit our hit rate, which is going to benefit not only us, but we're going to be sharing all this information, so it'll be benefiting others as well. So just right now, why don't you just take a moment to build an isolated space-time capsule for your analysis judging session. And what do? I'm doing it right now. I'm intending not only for me, but for all of us. I've got one of these around each of us. Okay, and all of us, so no information that we're about to come upon and share will be shared with the remote viewing session. Okay, so this now is just an example, which you saw before, of how to mark things with A's and B's, count them up, take a fraction, and when you're done with all of this, make sure things like this are on the transcript so we can talk about it, but also make sure you get to a CRA and a CRB, and then email me your judge transcript with the information on it, because then we'll be able to talk about it. And then this idea of first impression gestalts indicate what you see as being those, because that becomes part of your judging. This was, for some of you, again, this is very individualized. Some people do things, in different fashions and weight things differently. But this idea of first impressions gestalts came from Joe McMonagle, and he believes the first impression gestalt should have a 50% weight on your judging. Period. Everybody weights it with some numerical or things. We use 0 to 7. Other people use 0 to 100. Some use 0 to 1 to 4. They're different methods. We use 0 to 7, but 50% should be the first impression gestalts. That's where it smacks you in the face. It gets you in the ballpark. There can be more than one first impression gestalt. What gets you right away, in our cases here, it might certainly be the water, but there also might be animal, human, who knows? There are photosite targets, could be anything you can take a picture of. Okay, and then the other 50% is this weighting approach, where you take the ratio between of the A's to the total elements possible, B's to the total elements possible. Now, here's just a graph where if your fig, say, were a half and your ratio is a half, you would add those together, you'd get up to 1, and there you'd be at 3.5, which we take to be first wagerable. But if you nailed the major figs and you're up here near 1, and then you got good matches as well, that's when you get up here to the 5 and 6s. So that's the idea with Joe's bringing in 50%. The basic TAR confidence level, which is what we always convert everything to, was defined by Russ Targ back at SRI with a few other people. And 0 is just no correspondence. It turns out that's actually pretty hard. 1 is just a little correspondence in terms of the match with your precepts or elements. 2 is basically chance. I feel like, yeah, I might have gotten a color, I might have gotten 1 or 2 other things, but it could have been, and probably was, just by chance. If you give it a CR of 2, you're saying, I just think it was chance, I didn't really see and don't believe there was a psychic connection. If your ratio is 10%, 15, 20% of matches, that was a chance match. And a 3, though, you get to a mixture of correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the correct elements to indicate that the viewer has made psychic contact with the target. So now you're saying, you know what, some of those connections, and I got enough of them that maybe I'm in the realm where I did make a psychic connection. That would be a 3. Maybe 50% is close to that, but that's just a rough number I'm putting out there. A 4, you're now not marginal anymore. You're now willing to say, I had good correspondence with several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect information. It's always some incorrect information. What we've done is we've set up 3.5. So not just on the margin here. Yeah, I've got some psychic, but between that and good correspondence is where, you know, you might be willing to wager a few bucks is the way I summarize it, but you get the idea. This is where it would no longer be a pass. You're now saying it's wagerable in whatever direction A or B is associated with. 5 now is a jump up to good correspondence again, but now he uses the word unambiguous, unique, matchable elements, but some incorrect information. Now, guess what? Unambiguous, unique, matchable elements has some ambiguity in it, as you'll find when you do your judging. But what you can see is it's a step up. It's the kind of thing you would give, you know, at feedback time, you'd circle it, highlight it, and say, oh my gosh, that was so terrific, sub. Thank you for giving me that kind of stuff. When I mark A's or B's, I would mark that as like a big A or a big B. The fish example, for example, would be a super big letter. I might even count it as 2 points rather than just 1 point as an A. And the little a's I usually count as a half. Okay, but 5 is very, very good. The 6s and 7 are also good, but they bring in a new element, which is the AOLs. When you get a 6, you might name the function of the target, but it came in, you know, analytically from your mind. And now you're getting down to where you have relatively little incorrect information. A 5, you also have relatively, you know, you have less, let's say. You keep getting less and less. And then a 7 is actually, you might have named the target, Eiffel Tower, or some other word which really kind of names it. And so that would give you, oh, it looks like you left 2 in here. Okay, but this whole approach is your bottom line summary about your prediction. The judge is now saying these kind of words. And often when a person gives a 5, I'll say, okay, what did you feel is unambiguous and unique about it? And sometimes they'll say, no, my ratio was just up at 3/4, so I felt that was worthy of a 5. Again, these are guidelines. It's up to you to put this together. And notice, you're going to get back your feedback. So in a relatively short period of time, you know, tens of predictions, you will now begin to settle into a style where all of this will make sense to you. In terms of, you know, if you ever give yourself a 6 or a 7 and you miss, you're really going to want to ask why. And that, of course, is important. It isn't maybe that it might have even deserved a 6 or 7, but then I always recommend go back to your sub and ask, why did we do that, sub? How come you gave me such good information about the other target? And your sub will give you an answer. Okay, so now how do I put my CRs in? Well, funny you should ask. I'm now going to show you that. You've got your transcript. You bring it into your computer, And I'm not even going to go over how to do that. Everybody seems to know how to do that this day with smartphones or scanners. And if you do have a problem with that, just email me and we'll go over it. But what I've done is a dummy transcript just so we can go to the next step, because you can't go to the next step until you have your transcript in here. And that transcript then becomes available to your judge if we aren't doing it this way. And also it's available to you later with the other comments and everything else that you do. So you just simply upload it there and then you click submit. And there you go. We have photo site A. Remember, there are two possible targets. One's photo site A, one's photo site B. Some people like to put A's first before they pay any attention to the B at all. So they'll go through the whole transcript and mark as a analyst judge what they think should be a little a big A, and they'll do that on their transcript. And then they'll go to the second one and do that totally independently. You have to remember, you don't want to get emotionally attached to one or the other. You just do this as a judge. So, and then you can go down here, and some people just go down here directly and do them both. So they go by each element one at a time. So you need to develop whatever you think is best for you. This is very important. It takes as much time as it takes, because you don't want to miss. And we had one example of that where you say, oh, gee, I don't know how I could have missed that. But you don't want to miss anything, and you want to judge it properly. And then once we get through, you would then go, remember the TARG 0 to 7 scale? For photo site A, you'd go 0 to 7. Photo site B, 0 to 7. You put your comments in here, you click submit, and that's it, you're done with the judging session. And that's it. So let me now leave you with this, and I will bring up the TARG scale. Which should be there. Oops, let me move this over a little bit. Okay. So, judge, put your judging information, including the CRA, CRB, and then email it to me, and I will be putting together well, we'll actually do that when we look at the transcripts. I like to look at every one of the transcripts just so we get to talk about them and help solidify everything we're doing. The judging is right in the middle. So it opens up all of the kind of issues, and you guys might have questions.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I couldn't get my microphone to work. Yeah, I forgot and sent that off right away like we do with the other one. So let me do somebody else's and let me send it. Judge.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. Lila, let me do yours.
Let's not.
I mean, if you really
Actually,
don't want to, we
you
won't.
can do mine as a perfect example that one should be completely relaxed. And I was not relaxed at all.
And you knew that and the cool down, you weren't able to get into a relaxed state?
I was, and then all of a sudden I lost all sound for the webinars. So I went and got my laptop, opened it up so I could hear it, went through the motions of trying to fix the sound again, and by that time I got pissed off.
Okay. Did that happen when we went into the hemisync? Did you first hear the hemisync?
Yes. No, I never heard the hemisync, but I
Okay.
believe it did go into it. I did lose sound then.
Okay. Yeah, and I can see, so I won't rotate yours. I can see you gave yourselves one. Well, you know what? That happens to all of us. So I know you're not, hopefully you won't be upset in any way. You are upset in a way, but not enough to get derailed, and now you're back to your normal self, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's now look at Donna. Also had a 2 and a 3. Oh, okay, but you didn't set your transcript, Donna? Or is that going to come separately?
Hold on, Marty, I'll send it. Sorry.
Okay. You know, we might as well look at them all, even if they're not wagerable, and you might want to say a few things about it. You know, I suppose if all we wanted to do was the judging, all I would need would be the CRs, but I think this is much better than that. Okay, let's see what, okay, I've got 2 pages from Miss M. Whoop. I don't see anything there. Maybe that's just, let's try this one. Oh yeah, that's 2 megabytes, okay. There we go. So let me get rid of that. And let's bring this over here and here. Okay. Miss M, is that how you like to be? Are you still here? And is that like what you like to be called? Because I don't know your name. And I'm looking at the transcript. Well, I see circles, and I see tall. Did you give a confidence ranking to this?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, speak a little bit louder, but you are here.
Okay. It was, I sort of did, but I did. I said, forgive me, I said a 7 because I got the tree to the right of the tower. If you can see there's a tree.
Yes, right here.
Yeah, that's what I got. So in the picture, there's a tree to the right of the tower. So I was to the right of the target.
Right, I see it here. Okay, but that alone would not justify a 7 or a 6. And so that's why the judging, and that's why we have these classes, are are so important. You know, that can easily be inferred, readily inferred from the picture. So the fact that you got a tree means this should be marked as an A for sure, no problem. But I'm looking at that, and I also see this as being tall, you know, like this.
Yes.
I think your sub might have given you even information on that. But you just don't get a 6 or a 7 unless you have multiple things. Let me see what else you have. You have leaves, okay, but that fits to the tree.
Strong.
What do you think all of this stuff is here?
That's more leaves.
Oh, so you saw those. Okay, so what you did is you focused on the tree, and kind of your whole transcript was leaves and trees.
That's right.
That's what you think. Okay.
But I felt that there was a strong structure straight
Right.
up.
You've got that here. I do see that. I also see, what is, oh, I see, 2. What is this 3?
I was doing numerology.
Okay,
that's part of my precog.
That's okay. So the circle, though, is part of the 3. It wasn't part of this transcript.
No, no.
Okay. So.
But is that a church?
I'm not sure if there's a cross on top or not.
Because the words that came to me were love and blessed.
Well, I mean, it could be a religious thing of some sort, but I can't tell for sure.
Right.
Okay, let's talk some more about your score. If you remember, a 6 or 7 says multiple different things. In fact, having so much of the tree here, what I would suggest to you and everybody else, if they're focused in on one thing, it's that, sometimes that's called door knobbing, believe it or not. You know, you might have a castle as a target and all you focus on is a doorknob, you know, round, smooth, and you get a whole bunch of things, but it's just one thing. But in this case, it was obvious that there was one thing. You should ask your sub, okay, sub, I get it. There's a tree there. You know, you're saying this quietly and in a loving fashion to your subconscious, which is this communication channel with the UCC, and you say, okay, now give me something different beside the tree that's at the site, at the target site. So that's what I would suggest you do next time. And especially since the tree is such a small part of this, though you've got the high one, you've got this, I don't know what to put down for you. I'm okay with the 0 for B. You know, this one, usually I just let people do it, but this one is just, I think, off so much. I think this would be either a 3, maybe a 3.5, but probably a 3. Anybody else want to pipe in here?
Marty?
Yeah?
Can I have had a similar issue before.
Uh-huh.
Where there's like a discrepancy with time and space. Russell Tard was doing an exercise and I got the object that was there before the actual object.
Yep, that precognition works, but it has its vagaries for reasons we don't understand. And okay, so what? Yeah, what do you think Miss M should have here? Okay, I'm going to.
3 is pretty good, Marty.
A 3? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and Miss M and I agree. And again, you should know that judging has its uncertainty, and that uncertainty bound is about 1. We've had a bunch of judges look at the same target with the same transcript, and they'll differ by 1. That's not unusual. So when I say 3.5, that gives you the sense of at least what I think is appropriate for this one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's see, the next one up is Jack. Let's see what you've got here, Jack. Okay. Whoa, I want to make it big. Okay, I can close that. And this big. This way. Okay, Jack. You've got your mic. Okay, very good. So I can put this 4 and a 2. And I'll put that on my table because I need that for. And why don't you talk a little bit about why you did this?
Well, I came up with the 4 and the 2 pretty much totally based on my percentages of things that matched the 2.
Okay, that's no problem with that.
The sketches, I didn't see anything definite in the sketches that said one way or the other. Well, I mean, I guess I've got some that look like the building.
Right, that looks much more like the building.
Yeah, with stone blocks maybe.
You got rounds there, but you marked that. And let's see if there's anything here that I think would be Gestalt-like. Sunny, grainy. Well, man-made, but you're right, they're both man-made. But that's structure.
I did think on my first ideogram, well, since you've been showing stuff here, it occurred to me, I have distant. And I had a sense of a desert or something, you know, in the distance, and the building looks like it's going into the distance.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. You could certainly give that at least a little B and maybe a big B. Yeah, sunny is A. Any indication of outdoors versus indoors? Whooshing, blowing.
Well, the sounds, yeah, didn't really make sense with either one of them.
Right, and that's right. Okay, you did good, and getting 20 out of 34, which is just a little over the 50% mark, and you know, that might be enough for me to go 3.5. Let me see, but this is pretty darn good. You know, and in sharp contrast with this, which when the person paired them, that's what they were looking for. And it's almost like a sub-tasking is, hey, and give me that stuff which is really different from the other. You know,
yeah.
That's a sort of a sub. Once you do this a few times and you do the judging, you make that kind of a sub-task. And that certainly did that well. Okay, that's very good.
Well, I was going to ask, just in the others, I mean, I've only done about a half dozen sessions with the KARV group, and it seems like I'm getting stuff from both pictures in my session.
Guess what? We hear that a lot. And that's why I tried to get you to put outside the this container, this separation of the judging session from everything else. But you have to realize that this communication channel is really very mysterious. And people get, like a Joe McMonagle, you know, the superstars in this, get so the information that they want is the only information that comes up. And even then, it's only some of the time. Sometimes, however the channel starts, it's just the wrong place. How you stop this is one of the mysteries. You know, I wish I could tell you, do this, do this, do this, do this. And there may even be people out there that will tell you that, but it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, the last couple, I did a lot more AOLs, and that actually did seem to help with the main data flow.
Perfect. And what you just said is the answer to that question. You've got to do it yourself, watch what's happening, and really set the intent and expectation to not give me that, anything else. But, you know, there's noise. There is this uncertainty. And the noise, for some reason, seems to want to pick up stuff from the other picture more than random. That's just my observation. And that may be because they're indeed entangled during the judging session. I mean, right now, these two pictures are entangled, whether we like it or not, right? The UC knows that, right?
Yeah.
Our job is to get over that. And most people do it with odds better than chance. And sometimes do it spectacularly well. So we know we can do it, but how to do it regularly, you know, just where you are now, still, you know, early in the stage, you have to work that out for yourself.
Yeah.
And
yeah, the session I just did for the KARV group, A was a train engine and B was a woman jumping a high hurdle. And the target was the train, but I wrote iceberg down a number of times as AOL. Mm-hmm. And in the picture of the woman jumping the hurdle, on the hurdle, it has the word berg written on it. So.
And for some reason, maybe your sub wanted to tell you, hey, I can pick up words.
Yeah.
You know, I said something to you that I want to say again, because it took me a long time to get to this point. You know, I've been doing this for many, many years, as have others. And we have tried many, many things at this level. We've also tried many, many things and how to introduce people to get the best remote viewing session, how to get the best feedback session. And you know what? None of them change things enough to say that this is the way. And it's after all these years that I've come to the conclusion, and I think it's the right conclusion, that it becomes very personal. It's all about the communication channel. You have to work it out for yourself. I mean, really, all of you, all of us, I'm still learning too, have to take this in very deeply. And I hope you come to believe it, because we're talking about things which are at this very deep inner level of our being. And every one of us is different. You know, we start out with different DNA, different vibration right there. And I think it's a DNA vibration that connects all of our life now experiences. Every one of your now experiences basically has the same kind of DNA vibration, but everybody's is different. And so when we're talking now about getting in touch with this deep level, it's got to go through your whole history in a way. Now you can try to set that aside, and that's great if you can do it. That's one of the things which has been suggested. But you have to work it out for yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, let me now go to Jack. Okay. Oop. Oh, there's Donna. Okay. Let's see if I can get this over here on the right. Get rid of that. Okay, let's see what we have here, Donna. Talk to me a little bit. We'll just chat, you know. Don't.
Hello, everyone. Okay, well, the Gestalt and the first impression. So I had this feeling of something radiating out and branching and a little bit of an off-white color. So I thought that the off-white color obviously looked like the building, and I couldn't figure out what I had on the rest of this thing except for B and actually that's not even B, that's A. I don't know why I marked it like that. The middle sketch kind of looked like the opening of the building. But then I started looking at some of my other stuff, and I saw that I drew a bird, which is on the coin, and the bird's feather is radiating out like my gestalt. And even though I felt like there was something alive, I thought there was people and animals in the picture. And so it was just kind of a not a real strong session. I had a few other things for both sides. And that's why I put a 2 for A.
And a B for 3. Yep.
And mostly it was because of the gestalt, because I really didn't get a lot of the elements. Out of 30 of them, there wasn't a lot.
Right.
So,
did you do the ratio?
Yes, I did the fig, and it came out exactly right. 1.9 for A, and right at 3 for B.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, that never lets me down.
Yeah. Okay, that's kind of cool.
And actually, I could have put down a B for bright, because it is kind of bright on the coins, but I don't think it would have changed much.
Right. Okay, very good. Yep. I hope, and I believe this is so valuable for everybody to see the way everybody else does it, what's there in common, what's unique to them.
Actually, my AOL had birds in it too, so.
Yeah, well.
But I felt like they were outside more than on a coin, but.
Right, but the eagle, if you're getting the eagle, the bird.
Yeah, see my little eagle I drew there? My little bird.
Right. So, had you given that up to a 3.5 or something, I don't think anybody would have complained with the variation of 1, because bird was pretty darn good for that.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
Well, we could put 3.5 if you want, if it changes anything as far as your judging. Well, I thought the bird was pretty good.
You're the judge. Do you want me to change it on my table?
You know what? No.
Okay. So
no, I don't think we should.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I didn't have that strong of a feeling, even though I did draw it. I just don't feel that strong.
Good pass.
Okay. Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Okay. Take care. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Paul, this is yours. You still here? And
let's. Hi, Marty. Yep, still here.
Hi, how you doing, Paul? Let's see. Okay, good. You marked all these. I don't see CRs. Did you give them confidence rankings eventually? Am I missing it?
I scored at the very end. I came up with about 24, 25 perceptions in favor of A and about 4 or 5 only in favor of B.
Okay, so what confidence rankings would you give it then?
Well, that's a difference of 4 to 1.
Okay, give me the number again on A. How many out of?
I think I wrote 24 on page 3, but it's actually about 25, 26 when I went back and checked the gestalts. I didn't include them.
And that's out of? Maybe
out of 50 odd.
Okay, so that's right around 50%.
Yeah.
A little more. Okay, so let me look at it. I sometimes, though, quickly I try to make independent judgments so we can talk about it. If all right, this was not one of your stronger sessions, was it?
Well, there's another 2 pages, Marty.
Oh. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. So I can go down. It's a PDF. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at this.
So it's mostly on the last page where
Children running.
I put in a move command to move to the time of actually viewing the feedback.
Okay, move to the time. Okay. feedback.
And it's all A down the page.
Right. Oh, a lot of A's. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the main perceptions are something whitish, tall, upright, vertical.
Correct.
There's a lot of perforated surfaces, penetrated at multiple openings, multiple gaps.
Right.
All centrally located.
Right.
Blue.
And the sketch is clearly that.
Yeah.
You know, and there are a lot of sort of funny perforations here too, though it's not flowing. Oh, you got water.
Well, that's water. What does happen to me, I've noticed, is that I do more than just view the feedback photo. I tend to view the site.
Yeah. That doesn't help the judging.
No, it doesn't.
But if you can identify when that happens, then you can ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can't ignore it. You got to declare it. But the thing is, I just can't.
No. I ignore it at the judging stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to count those elements if you're clear about that. But
yeah.
Or give it less credit and all that. Okay. So what do you want me to put down? I agree. I'm going to put 1 down for the B, photo side B. What should I do for A?
A, I scored as a 6.
Because of this.
Yeah, it's man-made, it's tall, vertical. I mean, the descriptors are all there.
You got
and the perforation is part of that style of architecture. So that's, and because I'm an architect, that's what I recognize.
Right.
And the same with the timber door. You know, I even call it up as part of a historic theme park.
Okay, now this is very interesting and allows me to share this thought. Earlier, I had said you would use this ratio. If you use this ratio, you would give it a 3.5 or a 4.
Yeah.
However, other people do just what you did here. If they get some things which are particularly strong, and you have a bunch of them, it's not like you just got the tree. I noticed you did get green.
Yeah.
Where here. And so, you know, the tree inference is clear as the Mrs. M did, but you got lots of other stuff. And I know other people take that rather than the element count to be the most important.
Yeah.
And so again, you just have to watch yourself. If you're getting a lot of 6s, which are not hits, then you might, that leads you to maybe think this through. But again, it's totally the viewer's choice. So I will put it down as a 6. I totally understand what you did, and you know, it's a perfectly valid way of judging.
Well, I'm going on the quality of the perceptions rather than the number.
I understand, and as I say, you're not the only one that does that.
Yeah.
But everybody's got their own style. That's all I can say. And the different styles work for the different people. Because mostly what matters is that they developed them themselves, they followed them, they've kept stats on them. Okay, let's do Anita. Okay, I like when it comes in here because I can do that. And turn it. Whoops, let me get rid of that. Okay, here we go. Anita, talk to me. Let me see, I see your rankings here. Wait, I had them and I lost them. Oh, you put it in the email. Okay. Anita, are you still here? These things go for a while, and people sometimes, as I understand, have to leave, but...
Okay, here I am.
Okay, good. I just don't know how to make it any shorter. Okay, you gave yourself a 5.
Yes. I actually got a horrible transcript. I got both. But I hope I learned something at ARV the week that passed, between mediumship, between looking and receiving information. So I noticed when in the mediumship course, they said when you look for information, it is like you're almost like you're squinting to see something. It's not information being dumped on you. And I think that made things a bit clearer to me. Okay, I got like two.
No, that's really important. That's the idea,
Yes.
that the subconscious is dumping it on you, and you're
Yes.
not looking down to it.
It's like both photosites are being dumped on me, and now I have to judge this transcript with all this information and look at it the correct way.
That way. And, okay, that's good. Okay.
Okay, what I got is two different-sided, like tall things, white beige. So it gave me the impression of the building. I definitely got a structure, like wooden or woody. Let me just see what else I got.
Did you get anything that you considered unambiguous and unique?
I did get bird, but that was being dumped on me. I put that in AOL.
Nothing wrong being bird. Nothing wrong with being...
But I got the texture of the building. It gave me the impression of something being almost like something being knitted, the texture, if you look at it. I think that's the big thing that hit me.
Okay, well, that's unambiguous. Where, and you saw that here? Is that the A? All of,
let me just see.
Oh, and I like the scallops here.
Yes, the patterning. I got a definite patterning, or almost like a decorative cake thing knitted. The texture absolutely stood out to me.
Right.
Okay. I got it as outside. It's a building or a structure, or the idea of height.
Yep. Very good. And did you do any arithmetic on the counting, or did you just go by?
Yes, at the bottom lower corner, I put the calculations.
Okay. So, there they are. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Well, just I can't read it from here. What was the ratio? What was the ratio?
I gave the Gestalt of 0.75 and 31 out of 40 attributes times 3.5. I gave it a CRA of 5 for CRA. And CRB, I gave the Gestalt a 0.5. I only got 9 attributes times 3.5. Gave me a 2.5, but because I got bird, I gave it 1 more, and that came down to 3.5 because contact was made.
Okay, that's good. So you use the formula.
Yes.
Okay. I have no problem with that. That's good. And I do think the 5, also in terms of the words, you can see there are mixed ways of doing this here. Anyway, I've got you down for A for 5, and thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Marty.
So let's close this one. And now Monica is up. Oop, my scanner died. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to enhance it. General Gestalt opening, tried to get into something confidence since I'm out of practice. I have no confidence. Now, Monica. Okay, we'll pass on you. Okay. And now Evelyn. By the way, I got the transcript this way. It's good if when you do it, if in the subject heading you put the coordinate, just because when I then search for it a month later, it's just easy to find with the coordinate in the subject heading. So that's true. Most of you sort of did that naturally, but not all of you. And I can find them otherwise, but it's just easier for me.
Good idea, Marty.
Yeah.
Because I got a couple I need to get the feedback for. I got to send you a couple of emails that I noticed in that we thing. It tells you when you haven't done feedback. So
right.
A couple of them I can't find the links for. I sent you one email. I got another one to send to,
okay.
so I can clean that up. Anyway, this one I kind of like Donna and some of the others. I didn't have a real strong transcript, and sorry I sent it right away. I was thinking of the Carvin, the
no problem
group. And it's funny because when I was first judging it, I was thinking the green was only the foliage next to the building, and I thought, oh, come on, stupid, this is America. Green means money. And lots of green means lots of money. So I went back and I remarked it with, and that's what Paul is from Ireland, isn't he? Maybe they don't consider being money. And so he didn't give any credit for green to the B, and I think he needs to rethink that as an American.
Well, no, wait.
But anyway,
wait. Let me comment. Evelyn, let me comment on that.
Yeah.
This is all very personal.
Yeah, I know.
The fact that green means money to you,
that's
fine, and to judge it that way makes sense. That just didn't come up in his mind.
In his, yeah, you're right. It's personal. Anyway, and actually, when going through and marking this thing, I think I missed a couple of more because of thinking what the money means. But I still wouldn't give it either one, because I drew a nice drawing of the upside down building, but quite often my last drawing at the last, it seems to be I reach out to the other photo site. So that's not unusual that my final sketch will be on the wrong site, but the sketch above it is of the money, and encircling, reaching, turning, rolling. And then even the AOL of a parade. I mean, what is a parade but America flags and, America stuff? And to me, that's what a parade means.
Okay, but you're going to give it
of a park too. The other AOL, a park with eagles and that kind of stuff in it. So I didn't give them anything, but I got to thinking after I sent it that maybe those would equal the eagles and the coins. But this was a hard one because so many things matched both, or the idea of lifting up, looking up, thing being tall. I didn't say tall, but I had the idea of looking around, looking up, and that all went to A. And the lots of green I marked as B, but just plain green I marked for both of them because that did have a little bit of green tree in it. And so, I got sky, but then I put puffy clouds. There's no clouds. So there's a lot of stuff there that turned out to be extraneous. So I had 40 elements. And
nothing wrong with the pass. Who knows why? And it's a group. We're all in this AJ bubble. Anyway.
And I wanted to say one more thing. And Brooks Falls is kind of Brooks Falls and the Iditarod. They're two iconic things from Alaska. I mean, iconic, Mm-hmm. And so that picture was probably not a good thing for me to see, because as I'm doing this and I'm getting water and I'm trying to not let myself go to anything that would resemble that picture of the Brooks Falls. So that,
that we saw earlier.
Yeah, and I do have that problem. I mean, I've known it for years. When I played around with the Pear Labs thing and different other ones online, I would get the picture 2 or 3 pictures ahead of the one I was supposed to get. And so my mind will confuse the wrong, it's the wrong photo site. But I mean, if I see a picture and then I do a transcript, sometimes my mind goes to the other picture, and I do have problems with that. So in the judging, I knew that I had a little bit of a problem thinking I was confusing that Brooks Falls one. So that also made the judging a little harder.
Okay, 5-second rule. Don't talk about problems. Now let's talk about what we do to get over it. You've identified something you want to get over it. What I suggest is talk to your sub. The sub is doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And see if you can figure out why. In this problem, which we've discussed before, where you seem to get the other information, you know, maybe your sub dumped the right information, now it's bored, so it's going to the other target. And you might say, hey, sub, why don't you give me a signal of some sort when I should stop? You know, maybe it would be better if you stopped here. Or not. I mean, I don't know. I'm not your sub.
That is one of the things I've been trying to do, is when I'm trying to get one last little thing, that seems to be the thing that will be wrong. So I'm making myself do shorter sessions now, and I stop when I feel like I've gotten the important information, rather than trying to get just one more thing, because a lot of times that'll be on the wrong side.
Yeah. In fact, I always say perhaps. Maybe I'm encouraging that. You know, getting a sense of when you're done is you know, part of the discipline here, I think. But have you really spent some time, quiet time on your own, maybe doing a meditative type cool down like we do, and then ask the question, maybe even write it out on a piece of paper, which shows your intent is stronger to get an answer, and then listen and see what your sub dumps on you. Yeah. I mean, I really suggest that.
Good idea.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to Monica.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, we're all learning from each other. Okay. Very good. Monica, you got 13 A's and 2 B's. You didn't bring it to a confidence ranking, though. Oh. Right. This is Monica. First you said your scanner failed, but obviously you must have come back because I got you here. Okay, good. Now you didn't bring this to CRs, but obviously we have a lot of A's. Brown, movement, motion, opening, tunnel, railroad track. Interesting. Okay, so did you count the total number of elements?
No, I didn't.
But I would say it looks like you've got, and you didn't want to go to getting a CR because you were afraid to commit. Judges have to commit. And it's just wonderful to watch yourself during all these sessions because you find out so much about yourself in just watching yourself. Anyway, I'm going to make you commit. No problem with the B. We'll give the B a 1. Okay, now what are you going to give? Do you think it's wagerable? Let's first see if we can get over the 3.5.
Well, I had a very strong feeling of an opening, a tunnel, an archway, just like the one that's in the cathedral. And that hit me several times, even though I didn't keep putting it down. So if it were my money, I would wager on it.
Okay, so that gets it up to the 3.5. Let's just, now, in terms of a gestalt, I mean, all of this stuff certainly, and this certainly looks right. I don't know what I would do with that. You gave it an A. Do you see anything sharp pointed? Maybe here, but.
It was just, it was an opening.
Okay, that's the opening. I see.
One more opening. I had so many openings and so many.
Right, you have gaps. Gap is good. Okay. Oh, entrance. Right, tunnel. I see what you're saying. Railroad track. Not really, but maybe.
That went railroad track train tunnel.
Yeah.
Leading into it.
The opening. Okay, what I suggest next time, count the total elements, and I would guess you're very close, if not over half, which would justify a 3.5 as a judge. But also your comment about the openings is very good. So I'm going to make it a 3.5. You're okay with that?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Let's get rid of that. Oh, okay, Jude. You're a total newbie. I love it. Any remote viewing classes, but wanted to try that. Believe it or not, for associative remote viewing, the very informal way I present it is the way Russ Targ presents full remote viewing. He probably does it better than I do. But the whole idea of just listening, looking for surprises, is enough to get you a fair amount of information, but not to find details you need if you're looking, say, for a missing person or something like that, which Joe McMonagle and Pam and others do. They have a much more sort of detailed approach. Though if you look at the way Joe does it, he doesn't do it super formally like you would get in classes. He just somehow has managed to have that communication channel, just keep giving him stuff. And he asks quiet questions to himself, and the sub gives him a response. Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing and don't know how to score. I love it. Thank you. And we must always be honest here with each other, but especially with your sub and all of that. So let's see what we've got here. Did you happen to count up the A's and B's? Notice from this point, even if you just counted up the number of A's, let's just do it real quickly here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm going to make those a half, so that's 14. So 14. And let's see how many B's we have. 1, 2, 3. And 3 B's. So already that gives you a hint, right? And then if you were to take the ratio, I don't know if you would be a half or not. I guess I could try it. And sometimes even counting. Oh, did I count these here? Oh, yeah, but that's clearly a structure. The square windows. Wow. So I'd say you got the gestalt on A. Well, you have a 3.5 here, if not more. You might have even a 4. Man-made, outdoors. You said wet, and I don't know if, well, oh, wet. Maybe there's something here. I would say, Jude, very well done. I hope you feel really good about this. Yes, you didn't know how to judge. Okay, let's try to do a count on all of them. Did I count this right? And you're counting pictures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14. Now I got 15. And let's see how many total we get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I don't know if you meant these as AOLs. Well, it looks to me like it might be about 25 or 30, something like that. So you're right around the half. That's well done. So that's the only thing you didn't do, is count the total number of elements, and also you need to do the ratios and then ask about the gestalts, all of which together I think would put you up 3.5, maybe even 4. Does that make sense to you, Jude?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to put you in actually as a 3.75, which will complicate my business. And as the B, I'll make that a 1. Okay, so that, ooh. Let me close that. And I think that's everybody. Now, did I miss anybody, which I might do? Now's your time to speak up. Okay, so this is the spreadsheet I was keeping. But first, let's just pause a little bit. This is where the actual prediction is made. This is where it's really, really important. Are there any other questions or comments anybody wants to add about judging in particular? Oh, I know what I didn't do, and I meant to do this. Can you see this chat box or not? I just put the chat box on my main screen because Brett had asked a question. First of all, I don't know if you can see this chat box here or not. Someone tell me in the chat box because I just like to know. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's good to know because you're not seeing some of the other stuff I have here. But here was Brett's question. Personal opinion. So he wants my personal opinion. Have you considered that an external judge's beliefs and biases, if they believe money is the root of all evil, if it will also affect the overall accuracy of the viewer over time? To me, it seems like a glaring issue that many of the studies seem to completely ignore, while viewers take it very seriously since it affects accuracy, particularly when we have skin in the game. First of all, not all viewers will acknowledge they have a money issue when they do. I've seen that. But hopefully the viewers do. But your point about judges is very well taken. And this is, frankly, the first time I've even considered that as an issue. My first response, I was going to say gut response, is that it could matter. I mean, everything is entangled, right? Hell, if the viewer can pick up the non-target, I don't like the word decoy because it's not put there for that reason. You know, decoys are often placed in there on purpose. But the non-target photo site, sure, it can pick up what's going on in the judge's mind. And if the judge has a problem with money, doesn't want the viewer to make a lot of money because that might be an evil thing, might purposely, God, I never thought about this, might purposely pass on information about both targets just to foul up the viewer. Hey, I just made that up, but that's, you asked me for my personal opinion. That was my first reaction, Brett, okay? And then I didn't know the second one you asked here. I'll have to take care of the HemiSync, but you said, is it possible to get a link to the page with the targeting? I don't know what you mean by that. Okay, Brett, you didn't do a session. My hands are still uploading. Okay, got that. I'm just looking at the rest of these now. Okay, well, Brett, if you want to clarify your question, go ahead. But I mean, you know, these links generally come via email. So now it's my job to make a group prediction. And I usually do everything over 3.5s, since that's the margin we make. I make that a little bit different, and I'll put these God, it's way over here. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I put anything over 3.5, I'll mark special. Jude, you're so close, I don't know what to do, but I'll make it that way. This 3.5, I usually do those in like a gray. And here's a 3.5. Well, this one's easy. Sometimes they're not easy, right? And so prediction, as the group manager, prediction is for photo site A. Okay. Oh, there's one here too. Look at that. I missed that. Hey, you guys got to watch me like a hawk. That makes it even clearer. Let's see if this works. I don't know how that'll go into the box. So I've indicated the prediction is photo site A. I might also say pretty clear. CRs, okay. So how do you put them in? Well, right here. Now I have to rather arbitrarily put numbers in here. What really matters, of course, here is the prediction. You would put in your specific CRs, but I had a 6 there, and this was really pretty low. In fact, I don't think we had, yeah, we had one 3.5. The others were really low. So I'm going to make that maybe even as low as a 2.5. And then I copied this. Oh, there were all the CRs. I wasn't sure they would come in. Okay. CRs for photo site A makes this prediction very clear. Notice that doesn't mean it's right. Okay, now notice at this point, we frankly don't know. We don't know if photo site A is associated with yes or with no. So that's why we're completely blind, and front loading doesn't do any good and doesn't really matter. Then you click Submit CR, and it's a yes. So we are predicting, you can see there what I wrote comes out there. So you know now, and as an individual, you would of course get this. The coordinate photo site A was randomly associated with yes, B was randomly associated with no. Good, you got to see that because the other two we did. And then here's the event. So we're predicting the Dow Jones will close over 2,600 exactly a month from now, and it's now right around 25. It's 26,000, and it's right now around 25,000. Okay, so let's now go. Oh, I think I should still have. Presumably it's there. So I still have that open. Oh no. Okay. Okay, too many clicks. Somehow I got ahead of myself here. Okay, so there's the money, and we're practically done here. Well, since I've shown this now, why don't I just tell you what it is, because it is relevant here to the money. We have this Precog Pro program, and this is showing for the last 2 1/3 years, and we've had 19 Precog Pros come in, and not all of them have made money, but a lot of them have. In fact, funds plus withdraw. Anyway, a lot of them have made money. They started, I put up $2,000 for most of them. I have one partner at $10,000. We each put up $5,000. And what you see here are the return on investments per year. And you can see first year, the average was 63. Here was 155. But some of the people who I thought would do well didn't. And that's part of, again, being a person who has to make these decisions, whether it was money issues, whether it was issues that they switched to becoming part of a Precog Pro. I don't know, but I do know it's all psychological. So there was something that was going on there, because prior to me bringing them in, they were doing very well. Somehow I got way down here. Dean Radin. I asked people during webinars to give me pictures when they're younger, and look what Dean gave me. That always gets a big laugh. And that was in Vegas. That was fun. God. Oh, I see what happened. I went to my... Sorry. I brought stuff in from the workshop in Las Vegas. Looks like I'll have to get it from here. I just have a couple more I want to show you, and then we're done. Sorry. I thought I was reasonably efficient up to this point. Okay, so we talked about that. Right. So, final 3 slides to wrap this up is, again, it's you, your deep internal self, your I-Psi part of you that's creating your precognition and your retrocausality. ARV begins with this feedback session in the sense that that's the truth. So that's what you want to latch on to and shine up and do anything you can to make it more visible in this subconscious manner through your communication channel to your remote viewing session. So it's like causing. Notice it's called retrocausation. And we now have scientific meetings on retrocausality. So we've really come a long way in terms of this being open. So that's that point. And then this communication channel, while we don't understand it, we know it's there. You know it's there. You're communicating with something much deeper than your conscious now and what your intellect and ego can do. There's something deeper going on. And all of this is learning about your consciousness, the thing which is your now moment. Now. That's you, okay? All your now moments of your life. And look how valuable to learn more about your own personal consciousness. And this fits in with health, just as we discussed earlier, because you in your present moment, you in your future moment, these are interactive, these are entangled. They influence each other, okay? So have these positive moments. Go out of your way sometime to actually maybe do a session where you describe and set your future healthy self. and imagine yourself getting healthier and healthier. That imagination, where did it come from? It came from the UCC, right? When you can imagine it, you're imagining it. You're seeing yourself really healthy now. Well, you're giving that energy. Okay, that's this entanglement energy we talked about. And you're giving more entanglement energy from the UCC up to these positive thoughts. Okay, so I leave you with my final slide. And I thank you for really joining me here. And any questions, comments, unmute yourself, put them in the chat box, or we can go. Yeah, these things take, I guess, 3.5 hours. Okay, great comments. Okay, very good. Everyone have a good day. Keep precogging, and best wishes for health, wealth, and wisdom.